Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Minnesota Swimming Podcast. I am your host, Mark Seawin, and I am joined today by head coach of Cretin-Derham Hall, Mitchell Reynolds. Welcome, Mitchell.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me. Um, I I don't want to maybe kiss butt more than your typical guests too much, but I really am honored to be on today.
We
I
are honored to have you on.
Thank you. You've built a really incredible platform. I enjoy following along. I know it's a grassroots thing, and you've had lots of help along the way. But yeah, I just feel really fortunate. Community, like swimming community, we'll get into it, but it's gosh, is it not how we've made our best friends and our it's that formative thing in life, that community you get through swimming. So I'm honored to be on. So thank you.
Happy to have you and glad you're part of the Minnesota swimming community. Why don't you just kind of start out and familiarize some people with your swimming background up through college and start with high schoolish, or even when you're younger, if you're one of those kids that was like, I was swimming a 35-50 freestyle at the age of 3.
Sure,
You
sure.
know,
Well,
let's hear it.
yeah, I don't. Well, I have to look up my 3-year-old time though. But
Yeah, I got it.
I I do. I guess I want to highlight my young life a little bit because I do surprise folks that I meet around periodically because I'm not a native Minnesotan.
Yep.
I grew up in Frederick, Maryland, which is kind of a medium-sized city in Western Maryland, about an hour northwest of Washington D.C. And I was the first in my family to swim competitively. My first kind of canonical or formative moment that I remember in swimming was I was in it pretty young. I did well in lessons and joined a club team called Monocacy Aquatic Club. And my family and I joke about this endlessly still to this day. I was kind of politely asked to not continue with little kid football. Uh, Believe it or not, because I was in third grade and I was too heavy to.
Oh, you're the
Yeah,
big kid.
I was unapologetically the big kid, and
Yep.
they said that I would have to play with sixth graders, which is pretty
No,
unbelievable for a third.
no.
So that was kind of this formative chip on your shoulder type moment, right? I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, I can't continue with the sport because I'm not fit enough or something. So at that point, I became a year-round swimmer.
Awesome.
Ended up staying on that Monocacy Aquatic Club for all the years through college. I swam at Frederick High School in Frederick, Maryland. Definitely had a little bit of I definitely had a pretty steady big fish in a small pond high school experience. I was fortunate to be named team MVP all the
Nice.
years of and you can look
What
up the results.
events were your jam in high school? Where
I
did
was a
Mitchell always end up? You go 2 and 5?
I was a 500 guy, and my second event would be 2 IM or 2 free.
Okay. A pretty standard set.
Yep. Yeah. So that was also formative in a way too, right? Because Maryland, this is an interesting comparison to Minnesota. Maryland had a kind of unfortunate culture through policy, but also just casually through the clubs and stuff that student athletes had to choose between club and
Yep.
high school.
Yep.
So that was kind of a moment in my life where I chose high school. And had a lot of long nights, a lot of busy weekdays, getting to kind of half a club practice, late for warm-ups for a high school meet, that kind of thing. But, I remember thinking at that time that I was choosing community and choosing culture and to be present for this, to be proud of the school I go to and represent that school was meaningful. And maybe it came at times at the expense of maximizing my, club swimming. But at any rate, that was kind of a awesome chapter as well. A lot of my dear friends from that high school swim team. I went on to a D3 small liberal arts college in central Pennsylvania called Dickinson College. 1,000% a credit to the kind of character and the community that was built by then Dickinson head coach Paul Richards. He's since retired.
Okay.
I would love to highlight Coach Richards more, but swam all 4 years at Dickinson, was fortunate to be a team captain, had, the 500 through 1650 records in my time there. They've since been broken.
They all do get broken.
Yes, that is how it goes.
That's just a fact.
You know which one I held on to the longest was for club, 10 and under 2 fly. And I was like,
You're one of the 3 kids that did it?
Yeah, and I held on to 10 and under 2 fly for a long time, and I
That's
checked back.
awesome.
At any rate, after college, had the itch to keep coaching. Like I said, really inspired by my college coach and the impact he had in my life. Um, I have since been kind of summers home from college. I was the head coach of a summer league team.
Yep. A lot of summer league swimming out in Maryland.
Yes, yeah,
It's
yeah.
a
So
really
I was
big
the head
thing.
head coach of a team called the Hood College Hammerheads. We swam at
Nice. Go
a D.
Hammerheads.
Yes. Uh, coached. I was an assistant coach for a few years at a D3 institution right up the road from Dickinson. After I got out of undergrad, called Messiah University. Gosh, moved to Pittsburgh for like a year, kind of in the thick of COVID. Coached some club swimming, and since I moved to Minnesota, the first thing I jumped in with, like I think maybe the fifth or sixth day I lived in Minnesota in 2022, I started swimming masters with the masters group at Minnetonka.
Familiar.
Yeah, and then subsequently became an assistant coach for the Breck School girls. I was an assistant coach for 1 year for the Bear Stangs, the Breck and Blake co-op team, and I've been the head coach for the boys at Cretin-Derham Hall for 2 years now.
So it sounds like you've almost always kind of been drawn into the idea of coaching. What has driven that for you?
Yeah, um, I think a couple different things. I mean, role models, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing that I think a lot of us come back to. Like 100%, I'm in this like fortunate camp of too many to mention. But have even enjoyed role models that I've known for less time, but have gotten close with in my kind of quick time here in Minnesota. But I think this is a good moment to highlight the impact my college coach had on me. So again, the head coach at Dickinson for I think about 28 years was a man named Paul Richards. He retired in 2020, and he just, he cooked all the accolades. Right, he coached
Yep.
at like countless D3 national meets. He is in all the regional Hall of Fames, like all that stuff. But the thing that I was thinking about as I was as he invited me to be on the podcast is just last week, Coach Richards sent me his remarks. He's in his early to mid 70s now. It's been retired for several years. He sent me his remarks because he spoke last week at a gala for this human rights campaign. And he sent me these remarks, and one that stood out to me that is like the total my why for coaching. He wrote in these remarks that he sent me, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Wise
And that's just
words.
like total coaching philosophy fuel, right?
Yeah.
Like I fast forward to me and now and the Cretin-Derham Hall boys, like the boys, I want them to know how much I care about their grades, their
Yep.
interests, like their relationships, their goals. And only then does the swimming expertise stuff even matter, right? So I just was
S-
fortunate to have
Spot
these
on. Spot
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah, fortunate to have these role models and have been just got it. It is the community, and it's afforded me my friends, my partner in life I met through swimming, and yeah, so I can share that with the next generation.
That's awesome. In the moment when you're in college and you have this great coach, what did it feel like? What were the things that you saw from your coach that you're just like, this is so different and so special? What are some of those things?
Yeah, we all say it right because we're conditioned to say it, but like actually meant it. Academics first.
Yeah. No.
And it matters, right? I mean, we all want to preach that, but like when the rubber hits the road and there's a decisive moment between like, you know, even if it's as simple as letting the athlete off the hook for the one practice that coach thinks at the time is the make or break practice, right?
Yep.
But letting them prioritize that thesis they got to work on, or final project, whatever it might be. So, it was taught from day one when I set foot at Dickinson that the students who are the most successful on that swim team were also the students, and I say swim team because we didn't have diving, so it was specifically a swim team.
Right.
But
You're not just isolating diving here, that you
right,
were just a swim team.
the athletes to look up to, the folks who were in captain positions, the folks who were on the record board, on the A relays, whatever it might be, were the ones that were the most involved in other things on campus.
Yeah.
Tour
That holds
guiding.
true. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we had a big culture of folks on the swim team being tour guides for whatever reason, but I mean, involved with different affinity groups, Greek life, study abroad was encouraged. I mean, I was the only person in my graduating class who didn't study abroad, which is now in hindsight regrettable. But yeah, so I mean that was it, right? Was that like he practiced what he preached as far as like you're here for the transformative chapter of your life and swimming will play a meaningful role, but I'm not going to have swimming be the hurdle for you being involved in other things.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And a lot of people do talk that, but like you said, when the rubber hits the road and you have to make decisions, sometimes they don't always support the right choice in that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So how has this transitioned into your first years of coaching in high school? What are some of the key things that you think you bring as a coach to your boys or to the girls when
Yeah.
you're helping out with
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, two different roles, right? Like it's totally like a hat that you take off for that
Yep,
week at Thanksgiving when the seasons change. For the Breck girls, as maybe you can tell, I'm sitting in my like swimming layer here.
you have to.
The I'm looking at a paper plate award. I've got the last couple paper plate awards I've gotten from the Breck girls, and candidly, the most recent one they gave me says the Diva Award, which I don't remember what I did to earn that,
I don't know either.
but I think it characterizes like I feel like my role with Breck has been like a culture setter,
Yep.
assistant coach. Like I'm silly with the girls because the buck doesn't stop with you when you're in that assistant coach role, right? Like a lot of the kind of heavier, the tough phone calls with parents when unfortunately that type of thing does come up. That stuff doesn't land on you when you're an assistant. So I'm like, I try to be fun with that group, but I also try to be like that assistant who's all the way bought in and not,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of here part time or whatever. I mean, I'll just like I would during the head coach season. I'll email the girls tips when something reminds me of their stroke or their interest outside of swimming or so. I think that's kind of been my lane with the Breck girls, and I've obviously I could say more about the how I've enjoyed the mentorship of Michelle Carlson and Brian Wright. But
Yeah.
with CDH, talk more about I guess maybe some of my other strengths. Probably as far as like X's and O's go, tying back to that 500 free thing I mentioned, 1650 in college. I mean, I'm a pacing guy.
The only math you know is clock math.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Everything's base 60.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, if I'm like crunching numbers at the grocery store, I go,
Yeah.
all right, well, 3 packs of ground beef would be
2 minutes, 30
yep.
seconds. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I always had that internal clock, and so I think that's given me a kind of a pretty creative approach to, like writing some mid D and distance sets and things like that to get the boys to think pretty critically about like the intentionality behind their pacing.
Yeah.
I'd say a secret weapon that, and this would just be advice broadly to coaches, although obviously folks are from like all different walks of life. I mean, yeah, I'm fortunate to work at Cretin-Derham Hall full time. So stuff that's in my control, like, you can always be communicative. Like it's not hard to write an email to check in with a family when something's on your mind.
Yeah.
It's, that kind of, that weekly email is one thing, but keeping a detailed calendar, not, you know, when it comes up, calling a cold,
Yeah.
kind of cold calling a parent if you need to check in about something. But I mean, that's been my bread and butter when I feel like lost during the high school season is that like, okay, just be communicative, like overshare, over inform. Like, here's where the bus is dropping us off. Here's what writing to the families who may not be that swimming literate about, like here's what happens when we're doing this threshold training versus, physiologically how your body reacts to the taper or things like
Yeah.
that.
I
So
love doing that. And the funny thing is, like 75% of people aren't going to read it, but you're going to hit 25% and they're going to have an epiphany that there's more to this sport than they just thought swimming back and forth. And it's worth it though.
absolutely.
I think it's kind of self therapeutic just to kind of, write that stuff down. And you're like, yeah, that is what we're kind of doing. And yeah, this is some stuff I need to be thoughtful of.
Well, and I was just thinking about the last as kind of the calm after the storm of the boys season ending. I've been thinking about like how can I streamline these like weekly emails, this kind of big info blast I send out to dozens of families, like, and I've been thinking about small ways to incorporate AI, but what I keep coming back to is that point you just made. If I think I'd miss the kind of cathartic, like
Yeah.
putting your thoughts on paper, like that time spent having your Sunday morning coffee and writing to the team, like that, and you would
It
miss that.
is actually a very therapeutic time. Like, I
Yeah.
get up excited Sunday mornings to kind of lay that stuff out because it helps me personally organize my week a little better, maybe think through some things. Maybe once I see it in front of me, I'm like, well, maybe that's not the best idea, and some of that stuff. And
Yeah.
plus, with the other thing is it allows, so I'm a very hard line between the team and the parents, right? I keep them in the bleachers really hard, but it's a chance for them to hear my voice in a way and kind of some of the things that I talk about and I preach and the kids hear day after day. It gives them a little insight to that, which I find also kind of helpful too, which
Yeah.
I'm sure ChatGPT could do a Mark impression pretty well, but I like to have my own voice and it needs the spelling errors that I'm consistently good with.
And you know what too? I've found if you're writing it in the team, like, weekly email or whatever it might be, and as you're putting pen to paper, you're like, "I'm actually anxious to send this out to folks because it reads like a lot."
Yeah,
Maybe it is a lot.
it
So,
is.
if you're saying, "For our 8th workout this week, we're gonna go 30 minutes extra," maybe it is too much if
Maybe,
you're, like,
yeah.
embarrassed to send it
We'll be
out.
playing water polo this week.
Yep.
Let's
Yep.
line it up, boys.
Trying to remind myself, have those kinda check-in moments too, right? But
Moment of humility. Where are some of the areas you think you need to work on as a coach?
yeah, yeah, good question. I think that I really have admired coaches who have that kinda consistent, like, kind of childish, like, joy for the sport
Yeah.
that, be it like like wearing the funny, outfit at the championship meet, or just, not being embarrassed to post something kinda silly on the team social media or whatever. I am trying to remind myself. My assistant coach, during the boys season, Elena Paulson, is really good about reminding me to not take myself too seriously,
Yeah.
right? Um, I think, when I started with the CDH boys, there were some kind of basic needs we need. We wanted the roster size to get healthier.
Yep.
We, wanted some kind of more novice or intermediate level swimmers to get the mental reps of doing a prelims finals meet, that kind of thing. So there was
Yeah.
some kind of basic need stuff, boxes that needed to be checked. And at times, I can be too much of a grouch, or too much of a drill sergeant with,
No.
losing my joy for the sport. So, always trying to get better at that. I think that'll come with time, right? Like, now I can lean on that workout I wrote from year 1 or year 2,
Yep.
and I can come up with a silly thing I want to do today.
If you're anything like me, like I responded well to the direct orders slash heavy structure, high intensity stuff as a swimmer.
Right,
And I
right,
catch myself assuming that, well, everyone would want to hear it that way, right? Not many
right.
people do, right?
I think that's the, like, self, the torture side of someone whose best event is the 1650, right?
Yeah.
Like, I kind of want to be miserable at practice.
Kind of. Well, we gotta build up a callus to this stuff. You're like, I could do these on the 110. What's this
Yep,
115 crap? Right?
yep.
Like most people don't think that way.
And of course, I just, I don't want to give like a short answer or whatever for, areas for growth,
Yeah.
or, that humility moment. I mean, I want to count on, I want to not be like the siloed, like, coach who thinks they know everything at, my relatively novice age here. I want to join the community further. That's
Yep.
why I, like, was saying, I feel so fortunate to be on here with you, but, join the committees, you know, network with the folks in your section or in your conference or whatever it might be. I
Yeah.
mean, I want to be the arms wide open, like, share resources guy too. So plenty of room to get better at that.
That's awesome. And I think you kind of hit on the important thing is no matter how long you've coached, you know that there's always more you need to know. It never ends, right? Don't ever get to the point where you're like, I got this figured out. Cause you don't. I mean, it's
Yep.
endless. That's the joy about swimming. Like, when have you ever had the perfect swim where you couldn't possibly have gone ever any faster? And the answer is never, right? You always can go back and like, God, I could have done this a little better. Maybe only shaved a tenth off, but it
Yes.
wasn't perfect, right? And we carry that as coaches.
Yes.
And that helps kind of drive us to realize that, yeah, there's always more to know. And the sport changes so damn much, right?
Yes.
If you look
I
at some of the strokes from like 20 years ago, what they look like today, it doesn't even look remotely the same.
I know, and I get in that lane of focusing on how I was raised by that, more often than not, kind of grouchy older male coach.
Yeah.
And it was like, if the guy you're racing against did 10,000 laps to prepare and you did 11,000, you're going to win.
Yeah. And if you did 11, you might as well do 12, right?
So there is nuance of backstroke wedges, like, kind of details that like
Yeah.
distance swimmers ignore that stuff, right? So I'm trying to,
Who
I'm
false
trying,
starts in the mile? Nobody, unless you're trying to get out of it,
right?
which
So
I have done.
yeah,
Oh, yes.
oh yeah,
I did it once.
I'm sure.
I heard take your, and I was gone.
Jeez,
I'm like, "Oh,
chopping up
no,
a bit to go do the.
no, I'm disqualified. Help me."
That's funny.
Yeah. You talked about roster building. I want to hit on that a little bit because that's an intriguing thing. I don't know if a lot of coaches invest enough time in or think about it in different ways, but establishing that pipeline into your program to build numbers up. Because without numbers, it doesn't matter. It doesn't work at some point, right? Like you could have 5 great swimmers, but you're not going to be able to do a lot, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
what was your approach to building a roster and getting your numbers up?
Yeah. A couple different things. I mean, I still want to get better, right? Like
Yep.
we have plenty of ways to go. If we measure ourselves against some of the teams at the top of the table in the state, you can do crunch the numbers. Like we have gotten closer, but long way to go.
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of have this project I'm starting to do the spreadsheet work for. I'm leaning on this boys state times database that's pretty helpful. But
Uh,
I
fake news.
I've I've noticed I've noticed a lot of like kind of college programs will make these even just like these Instagram posts that'll say like, this was Susie's PR when she, before the season and this is her new
Yeah.
PR.
Yep.
I kind of want to start kind of a campaign like that just to celebrate like, hey, this for folks who are, I mean, CDH is a private school, right? It's a
Yeah.
private 9 through 12 Catholic school. So folks do have their choice to shop around if they're in that market of potentially enrolling certainly at a private Catholic institution. Um, so I want to leverage social media to kind of say like, hey, here's the data. It's not my opinion that like the day we put, water polo Tuesdays are fun, but
Yeah.
I want to overshare on social media about kind of how we're improving. How this is a place where, not just sharing that our all state swimmer went from here to here, but
Yeah.
sharing that our guy, went from, whatever the JV conference meet to making his first section roster, right?
Just as important, if not more, to be honest with
Right.
you, right?
That's
Um,
that is the foundation, right? So, I want to try and leverage social media for that type of thing a little bit more in the off season. I want, there's being present
yep.
in the kind of 6th through 8th grade swimming scene. There's this meet that I really think it was really worth my time to go just be present and cheer at this the CAA championships. This
Sure.
Catholic Athletic Association has a K through 8 swim championship meet. I believe it's like the first week of April, and just wearing CDH gear and cheering.
Visibility is a huge part, right?
Yep.
People
And that
aren't running
ultimately,
around looking for swim programs to join. A lot of places
right.
don't even know your school has a swim program or swim and dive program. Get the brand out there.
Yes, and ultimately just not being embarrassed to be communicative, right? Like I in this fall can remember like cold emailing, cold calling families who I said, "Hey, I know your son is at our school and we haven't met yet."
Yeah,
Which takes time, it takes being the creeper on Meet Mobile,
it
right?
does. Yeah, and dealing with rejection because you'll get people that be like,
Yep.
no, but every now and then you'll hit, and that might establish a new pipeline. You find out they've got 5 younger brothers, right?
Yes.
And if they have a good experience, the rest will follow
Well,
because they'll
you
all
know,
be too big to play football.
the any of the private school landscape, right? But we compete for enrollment at Cretin-Derham Hall. I'm saying, we compete for enrollment with a boys Catholic school that's been pretty strong at swimming.
Yeah,
So, how
I
can
know a
you
couple of them.
how can you make the inroads with when folks have their choice in the market, right?
Yeah,
So just trying to be communicative, be present.
that's great. A great strategy. Just the fact that you're putting so much thought into it is going to pay off. I don't think it's as hard as people make it out to be, but it puts us in kind of a spot where a lot of swim coaches aren't at their most comfortable doing,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Like
not everyone's in like enrollment management, like admission.
Yeah, and stuff like that, and, you gotta put in the work to find where the CAA meet is, or even if there is a
Yep.
CAA meet,
Yep.
and then you gotta clear the time to show up when you probably could find something better to do with your Saturday maybe, but there's a lot of value in that, or making the calls and hearing the no's, and that's all good stuff. I'm excited to watch the program continue to develop.
Thank you.
For people that are, let's say, maybe sticking a toe in the water and thinking about getting into coaching, right? Former swimmers, former divers, maybe they don't have all the time to do it. Maybe their job doesn't allow them to do it. What's the best way for them to just get a little taste of it to see what it's like?
Yeah. I think more programs than not are in the market for the like part-time commitment assistant coach
Yeah.
than maybe even post on their official like job board, right?
Yeah.
I know that I've been in that market my first 2 years at CDH and I just haven't, always had the most success making the right connection. But, a coach who's willing to be at one practice, one dual meet a
Yeah.
week, maybe that might be kind of because, yeah, it's hard. And if you are in the 7 to 3 school grind, it's a little bit easier to be coaching than if you're
Yep.
in the 9 to 5, corporate grind or whatever.
It is.
So, just reaching out. I mean, I have had a really amazing experience, like the first example that comes to mind, but in the conference we compete in, that Suburban East Conference, SEC conference, I'd say 10 out of 10 head coaches in that conference
Yeah. I
would,
wouldn't. I wouldn't argue that.
they'd return an email from
Yeah.
anyone, any time of year. So just kind of reaching out to your nearby school, your alma mater, right?
Yeah.
And, I think we all have our different reasons that we're drawn to coaching. Some folks are inherently competitive and like want to, want to show that they've got some special sauce. I also just think it's noble work and it's rewarding work to be involved in your community. Swimming, some folks will do that through volunteering or politics or whatever it might be. But I mean, swimming to me is a no-brainer lane if you've got any credential or background in the sport to do that kind of noble work of being a part of your community.
Yeah. I think it's a nice way to stay connected to the sport for those of you that don't want to swim masters and get in the pool like me. The
Hey,
water's
I've
cold.
seen you. I've seen you. I've seen
It
you.
had been years, man. People keep asking. I'm like, unless the water's 84, I'm not getting in. I'll show
Yeah.
up. I'm awake, but I'm not getting in the water. I hate cold water. Um, but it's another way to stay connected, and I think there's a lot of value in keeping that connectivity to the sport. Um, when you're done actually competing in it. It's still so many of us, it's such a big anchor for us growing up
Yes.
that it keeps us tethered to kind of what we are and what we're about. And it brings back some good memories. And it's fun to watch other kids get to grow up in that too and help provide that environment for them.
Well, and it can be a cliche, right? But the years go by, and I mean, you're like a data guy and everything, but the years
Yep.
go by, and I'd say the most average swimmer doesn't remember like the decimal places after their PR,
Yep.
or they don't remember it like the inconsequential club meet, what place they got. But what you remember is like whatever that summer league meet that got thunderstormed out and everyone just like had a laugh and a cry and whatever.
Yep.
We remember the water polo at practice.
Yeah.
So if you are someone who's been in the sport, all of my, I this would be like a call out moment for all my like you guys know who you are, my best friends from college who have just like never considered coaching.
Yep.
You know, look back at the moments of joy, like the
Yeah.
fun memories, and don't consider dipping your toe in the water of coaching coming from the angle of the times when it was a grind or the times when you had to get up early, you know?
No, not at all. And you don't remember that. I mean, you kind of remember that stuff, but it's not a priority. And I'm talking about like with me and the people that I swam with, it's a highly competitive group of people, right? And
Yeah.
nowadays, when you get to the college level, you're not just doing it because you don't have anything to do, right? And you have some free time. So I think I'll swim. You're competitive and driven people.
Right.
But when you come out of it, all you ever talk about is the fun stuff and the memories
And those
and the
competitive
stupid
driven,
stuff.
college teammates start to get fuzzy, and for some reason they go, "No, that was I definitely went that time," and you're like, "No, you didn't go." But
Every 5 years, my old times get faster.
oh yeah,
It's so good. I used to be so fast now. I used to be okay, but now I used to be really fast. So
the
that's the good
boys all
news.
I've kept a beard basically since I got out of college and stuff. The boys all just I don't know if this is flattering because they think I'm mature or what. They're like, I don't know. You're like my parents' age. And I know that I'm not.
I'm like, yeah, right.
But so I am in that unfortunate generation where you can find my times online with like 2 clicks pretty quick. So
Yeah, mine are still written on a cable wall somewhere, I think. That's
right
probably where mine are.
in a
But yeah,
rusted
you
shut
can
file
look
cabinet.
exactly that, and they were typed out after the meet, I think, and then they'd make ditto copies.
My God.
That's awesome. What's the big thing? What are we looking at for CDH next year? How are we going to take the step forward? What's the goals? What's the plan?
Uh, yeah, I appreciate you asking. We will have for the first time, and I looked this up right before the call. For the first time, and I think it's about 8 years, we're going to have divers on the roster.
Perfect.
You gotta like put in the put in the time to make that happen.
You do.
And I see the boys on the team that are ready to try. Yeah, the average age of our section roster was a 10th grader.
Perfect.
We're the only. I'm gonna say this, and someone's gonna email me or whatever. But I think we were the only team in our section that advanced a 7th grader to finals, day 2 of section finals. So we are young. We have a lot of enthusiasm and hard workers among the young core.
You've got
I
good
think
bonds too. I'll say that. I spend a lot of my time at meets just kind of watching teams because that's really kind of where my curiosity lies is how they interact. And you've got a tight group.
I
They
appreciate
work as one, and it's pretty fun to watch. They're young, you can see that, but they're tight, and they'll figure some of this stuff out, which should be pretty exciting.
that
Sorry, I
that
didn't mean to derail you there, but it was one of
oh,
my
that's
little things when I was sitting back in state this year, going, "That's some stuff right there. I want to watch that."
and it's I mean there's this is I shouldn't bring up this name because how do you pronounce this guy's name? That Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek basketball player on the Milwaukee Bucks,
Yeah,
he had that famous press conference where he was talking about like success isn't binary, right? Like there's steps to success. It's not just like failure or succeed. And I have been hammering to the boys, and there's so much buy-in that steps to success. You were only able to see our young core of guys at the state meet
yeah,
because we made the state meet.
right.
So we're in this steps to, now that we've got the mental reps. You're going to be the guy going to state for the second year in a row, telling the new guy what it's like, and that is like the money chapter to be in.
I love that.
And I'll qualify all that too with like a little sales pitchy, like CDH just as an institution, you know, rigorous academics. It's a community first, diversity first, service oriented community. So I'm also just consistently trying to lean on the community engagement. Like being a member of this team also means being a good sibling, a good son, a good classmate, a respectful student. So we're in that kind of chapter 2 of defining who we are and hoping and kind of manifesting a future where that's attractive to folks who want to be a part of it.
That's great. Well, you've had a great first couple of years. I know you're going to have a lot more. You're definitely one of those, and I know you're not like someone's parents' age, right?
Thank
So I will throw you in the younger coach category, and a group of great coaches out there that I'm excited to see is kind of the core and the nucleus that leads Minnesota high school swimming into kind of whatever the next generation is. It's pretty exciting, and I'm happy to get to sit back and watch it with you guys. So thank you for taking the time today. And it was great learning about what you got going on and kind of where those roots came from. Those impressionable college coaches
Yes,
seem to amazingly do wonders with people.
of course. And I appreciate being a part of that young cohort. I want like coaches that see us on deck and go, "You look like you might be about my age." Like,
Yeah. Don't be shy.
smile and a nod goes a long way.
Yeah.
There's another. I'm 29 years old. I don't know why it's like not a secret. There's another 29-year-old coach out there named Reynolds. Funny enough that
No,
Catherine
no,
Reynolds, that I'm
not familiar.
rooting for her too, and seeing
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's another one too. We'll have her on once she gets her self settled in a little bit.
that sounds good. That's funny enough.
Is that hers? Is that
That,
her?
that's that's her.
God bless backstrokers.
People are going to be like, "What's the joke?"
No, yeah. So Katie, his wife, will be taking over for me at Orono next year. And exciting to see what she can do and keep building out that program. But we'll have her on shortly, I'm sure.
Appreciate that, Mark. Yeah, and I'll just reiterate, like, I appreciate the invite. I this community is special. I was kind of gave that quick glimpse about um, Maryland having had that kind of a weird culture around if you had to pick club or had to pick high
Yep.
school. Gosh, I have seen countless high flyer stud swimmers in the high school Minnesota swimming community.
Yep.
It's good people. I got to shout out all the coaches that are um senior myself, folks that have been around quite a bit longer that have been really welcoming and really kind and invited me to get together for a coffee or whatever. And just it's just a lot of good people out here, and it's a joy to be a part of that community.
Yeah. And let's keep bringing it together. I believe when push comes to shove, that's going to be our greatest asset and our greatest strength is the community of swimming in the state, all working together to get some stuff done. And you're a piece of that. And that's awesome.
I appreciate that, Mark. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you.